Hello everyone. Now let's see Integrated Goods and Service Tax Act. Now few sections of this we have already seen earlier, that is for place of supply. Remember all the sections of place of supply, they were of IGST Act, right? Now we'll see the other sections which are there in the IGST Act. Starting with section 5 we'll see levy and collection, and of course the definitions also we have seen. So let's start with the levy section. Very simple one. No question can be expected on this. So just go through it. That subject to provisions of subsection 2, there shall be levied a tax called as Integrated Goods and Service Tax on all the interstate supplies. This is on interstate supplies, and CGST was on intrastate supply. So interstate supply of goods or services or both, except on the supply of alcoholic liquor for human consumption, it is out of the purview of GST. On the value determined under section 15 of CGST Act. So there is no separate valuation section in IGST. Valuation will be as per CGST Act only. And at such rates not exceeding 40%. So in CGST we had seen not exceeding 20%. Here it is not exceeding 40, because this is a aggregation of CGST and SGST or UTGST, as may be notified by the government on recommendation of the council and collected in such manner as may be prescribed, and taxable by payable by the taxable person. So all simple things. Provided that integrated tax on goods imported into India shall be levied and collected in accordance with provisions of section 3 of the Customs Tariff Act 1975 on the value determined under the said act. So when you impose IGST on imported goods, the valuation will be done as per the Customs Act, not as per the GST Acts. At the point when duties of customs are levied on the said goods under section 12 of the Customs Act. So valuation will be done as per the Customs Act. Now if you have already seen Customs Act, very good. If not, then we'll see how the valuation is done. Then integrated tax on supply of petroleum crude, high-speed diesel, motor spirit, natural gas, etc. shall be levied with effect from such date as may be notified by the government on recommendations of the council, just like CGST. And the government may on recommendation of the council by notification specify categories of supply of goods or service or both, the tax on which shall be paid on reverse charge. This is exact copy of section 9, if you remember. Section 9 of CGST, the levy section, and section 5 of IGST Act are dicto copy, except that here the proviso for imported goods is there, which is not there in CGST. So this is reverse charge. Government can specify the reverse charge, and the services which are notified here are the same that we have seen earlier in CGST Act. They are absolutely the same. And then subsection 4 is automatic reverse charge. If the supplier is unregistered and the recipient is registered, then he has to pay tax on reverse charge basis. So that is subsection 4 here also on the same lines. That supply of taxable goods or service or both by a supplier who is not registered to a registered person shall also be paid on reverse charge. And subsection 5 says government may on recommendation of the council by notification specify categories of services, the tax on interstate supply of which shall be paid by electronic commerce operator, ECO. Same to same. And the provisos are also the same, that if ECO is not having a business operation in India, then any person acting on his behalf in India, the representative, will be liable. Or if they don't even have a representative, then they have to specifically appoint a tax representative to pay tax on their behalf. So that is an exact copy, and the analysis is also given, which is absolutely similar. Then tax on imported goods, rate, reverse charge, e-commerce, all the points are absolutely same. Just go through it once. Then coming to section 6, power to grant exemption. This is similar to, write down, similar to section 11 of CGST, which we have already seen, and we have discussed the whole notification, right? 80 to 83 services were there. So this is again on the same lines. Even if you don't read, it's fine. Exemption will be granted to goods or services or both by the government on recommendation of the council by general or special order. General exemption will be given by notification, special order will be for you, particular person. Then exemption can be from whole or part of the tax. It can be absolute or it can be conditional. If it's conditional, it is optional. If it is absolute, it is mandatory. You have to take. So all those points are given again. So I don't think there is a necessity to read it. Then come down to section 7. Interstate supplies. What is the definition of interstate supply? This is a new one. Let's see. So here you will understand what is interstate and what is intrastate supplies. Although I have discussed this many times before, that where the location of supplier, two things you have to see, the location of supplier and place of supply. So place of supply we have already seen. Location of supplier, you know how to calculate location of supplier. In the definition sections we had seen. If he has a business place, then that business place. If he has other fixed establishment, then that fixed establishment. If not, then the residence is considered as the location of supplier. So if location of supplier and the place of supply are in two different states, means the supplier is in one state and the place of supply, POS, is in the other state. If these are in two different states, then it will be called as interstate supply. So again, keep one thing in mind. We never see the location of recipient. We only see location of supplier and place of supply. So sometimes it may happen that the location of supplier and place of supply are both in the same state, but the recipient is of the other state. The recipient is in another state, but place of supply is in our state only. I am the supplier, this is my place of supply. Recipient may be of some other state. What kind of supply it will be? It will be intra-state supply. So it is not the supplier and recipient. You don't compare supplier and recipient. Keep in mind, you don't compare supplier and recipient. What you compare, supplier's location and place of supply. So place of supply is as per those sections we had seen. The whole chapter we have seen, place of supply. Two different states, two different union territories, or one state and the union territory shall be treated as supply of goods in the course of interstate trade or commerce. Simple. Okay, so this is for goods, the first one, subject to provisions of section 10, supply of goods. Okay. Then supply of goods imported into territory of India till they cross the custom frontiers of India shall be treated to be supply of goods in the course of interstate trade or commerce. Means importation of goods basically, where the location of supplier is outside India and the goods are coming into India, will be deemed to be interstate. Though it is import, but remember all import transactions are deemed to be interstate. They are deemed to be interstate trade or commerce. Now, I'll explain this point in a little bit detail, okay? So let's see. This is India. And this is the customs area in Mumbai port. So there are customs ports, like Mumbai is a custom port. In that there is a customs area. So the ship will bring the goods here, and it will, when the ship is standing here, it will offload the goods onto the customs area. So unloading takes place in the customs area. Now when the goods are lying here in the customs area, let's discuss a few things. Okay. The exporter is M Limited of UK. Exporter is M Limited of UK. And the original importer who has imported goods is Mr. Rakesh. Okay, Rakesh is the original importer. So this supply due to which the goods are coming into India. The supply due to which the goods are coming into India. So when this supply took place, the goods were outside India and they are coming into India. So this will be called as import, and all imports are called as interstate. So this will be called as interstate supply. Why it is deemed to be interstate? Because when it is deemed to be interstate, we charge IGST. Therefore, on imported goods, we charge IGST in addition to customs duties. So, when the goods are imported, you first charge the custom duty. Apart from custom duty, you also charge IGST. Why? Because it is deemed to be interstate. As it is deemed to be interstate, you have to charge IGST. Now comes the interesting point. This much is simple, anyone can understand. Now, when the goods are lying on the customs area, that is on the customs port, can you say that the goods have crossed the custom frontiers? There is a point written there in the section. Till the goods cross the custom frontiers. So what do you mean by crossing the custom frontiers? Is it goods entering India? That is, when the goods are unloaded in the customs area, can we say that the custom frontiers have crossed? No. No. Crossing of custom frontiers means when the goods are cleared into the landmass of India from the customs area. So then you have to follow the whole custom procedure. The importer will come, file a bill of entry. After assessment of tax, he will pay the tax, and after payment of tax, the goods will be allowed to be cleared. So there will be clearance of goods. So these goods will be cleared. Clearance. This clearance is called as crossing customs frontiers. Okay. So if any sale takes place, if any supply takes place before this crossing happens, means when the goods are lying on port. When the goods are lying on port, the importer can transfer these goods. He can supply these goods further before clearance. Remember, before clearance. Before clearance, he can supply these goods. Now, he can supply these goods, but when? If it is before clearance, means before crossing the custom frontiers, then this supply will also be deemed to be interstate. It will be deemed to be interstate. Now imagine, this is a very important point. You have to understand by imagination of an example. Say for example, Rakesh. Now Rakesh is also of Mumbai. The importer is also of Mumbai. Okay. And he supplies these goods before clearance. Now firstly, how will he do so? How will he supply? By transferring the document of title. So there is bill of lading. Bill of lading is the document of title when the goods come by ship. If they come by aircraft, then it is airway bill. So these are documents of title. So what he can do is, he can transfer this document of title to anyone else. Then that other person will come tomorrow and clear the goods if he wants to. So this happens by transferring the document of title. Okay. Now, to whom is he transferring? He is transferring the goods to another person, Mr. Kalpesh of Mumbai only. Rakesh, Mumbai. Kalpesh, Mumbai. Both are in Mumbai, and even the goods are in Mumbai. They are lying at the customs port. So, will you apply the rule of place of supply and all these? No. No. In case of import transaction, it is deemed to be interstate. You don't apply, you don't see the place of supply. Forget the place of supply. And forget where the supplier is, forget where the recipient is. The recipient is also Mumbai, supplier is also in Mumbai, and the goods are also in Mumbai, everything is in Mumbai, still it will be considered as interstate because it is done before clearance. Okay, if it is done before clearance, it will be deemed to be interstate transaction. And what if it is done after clearance? Means the importer Rakesh clears the goods, he files bill of entry, he pays the custom duty, he clears the goods, he takes them to his shop, and from there he supplies it. Then it will be normal supply. If it is after clearance, then it will be normal supply. Then we have to see the place of supply. Then we have to see location of supplier and vis-a-vis the POS, place of supply. Same state, then it is intrastate. And if the supplier vis-a-vis place of supply is in different state or UT, then it will be interstate. Okay. Now, so many examples can be framed here. Rakesh is of Maharashtra, say Mumbai, and he clears the goods, and after clearance, he supplies them to Mr. Mukherjee of Calcutta, place of supply Calcutta. So in that case, it will be interstate. And even though Mr. Mukherjee is of Calcutta, but the place of supply is in Maharashtra, for example, if the place of supply is in Maharashtra, then it will be intrastate. Okay, clear on this point? Very good. So now come back and read it again. Supply of goods imported into the territory of India till they cross, this is important point, till they cross means before they cross the custom frontiers of India, shall be treated to be supply of goods in the course of interstate trade or commerce. Understood? Simple. So the original import is also interstate, and then any supply which happens before they cross the custom frontiers, before they cross the custom frontiers, will also be considered as interstate. Then subrule 3, subsection 3 says, subject to provisions of 12, supply of services. Now we come to services. Now this section 12 means the POS rule, POS section, which we have seen earlier, where the location of the supplier and the place of supply are in two different states. So here you see the location of supplier and again the place of supply, two different states, two different union territories, or one state and union territory, then shall be treated as supply of service in the course of interstate trade or commerce. Simple. So as we see for goods, we also see for service. And services imported into the territory of India shall be treated to be supply of service in the course of interstate. So import of service is also deemed to be interstate. And then location of goods or service, or both. When the supplier is located in India and place of supply is outside India, reverse case, export, write down, export. Export of goods or service, both, because subsection 5 applies to both goods and service which are exported out of India. Location of supplier is in India, Farooq, and place of supply is in New York. So I am sitting here, but my service is given in New York, or the goods, the place of supply is in New York. Then that is export. So export transaction is also considered as interstate. Okay, export. Import is interstate, export is also interstate. Or by, to or by a special economic zone developer or a special economic zone unit. To or by. Very interesting. Understand this point, to or by. So this is DTA, means normal India is called as DTA, domestic tariff area. DTA is called as domestic tariff area. So this is what we call as India. India is called as domestic tariff area. And you have got the CEZ, the special economic zone, in which you have two people, the developer who develops the zone, and the unit that is a manufacturing plant inside the special economic zone. Okay. So if any person from DTA, supplier is in DTA, okay, I'll write supplier instead of person. Supplier is in DTA and recipient is the developer of the CES or the unit inside CES. So they are the recipients. Then this transaction will be called as interstate, even though they may be in the same state. Okay, for example, supplier is in Mumbai and SEZ is also in Mumbai. SEZ is also in Mumbai. So developer or the unit is also in Mumbai. Supplier is also of Mumbai and the developer unit are also in Mumbai, and the place of supply is also in Mumbai. Still it will be deemed to be interstate. And vice versa. So if the supplier is the developer or the unit, supplier is the developer or the unit, and they supply goods or service to any person in India, any person means the recipient, then that will also be called as interstate. Even though it may be in Mumbai, supplier in Mumbai SEZ and the recipient is also a Kirana shop in Mumbai itself. Still this will be considered as interstate. So any transaction between DTA and SEZ developer unit or vice versa is deemed to be interstate transaction. Okay. Good. So to or by, or in the taxable territory not being an intrastate supply and not covered elsewhere in this section. It is in the taxable territory means in India but is not intrastate. How can this happen? Now this may happen. This happens because India consists of states and union territories, but India may also consist of some location, some area which does not fall within any of the states. It may be some disputed area, it may be some kind of an area which is neither belonging to one state nor belongs to another state. So it is called as no man's land. It's a land, it is in India, but it may be called as no man's land. If supply takes place in such a place, it will also be considered as interstate, because it is not intra. If it is not intra, it is automatically inter. Okay. So export, then says, and no man's land. Shall be treated to be supply of goods or service of both in the course of interstate trade or commerce. And then the analysis is there, which is very simple. On the example, simplest examples you can find here, like this. Location of supply means supplier, actually it is location of supplier, Messrs A traders of Punjab, and he is supplying goods. Place of supply is in Rajasthan. So if the location of supplier is in Punjab and place of supply is in Rajasthan, it will be called as interstate and therefore chargeable to IGST. Then all that import export are explained there. Very basic examples. And a simple chart given at the end. Then section 8 deals with intrastate supplies. So what is intrastate? So again, subject to provisions of section 10, that is POS, place of supply. Supply of goods where the location of supplier and the place of supply. So location of supplier and the place of supply are in the same state or same union territory then it shall be intrastate. But the exception to this are says transactions, because says transactions, even if POS is in the same state, even if the supplier and recipient everything is in the same state, it will still be deemed to be interstate. Then goods imported into India till they cross the custom frontiers, and supplies made to tourists referred to in section 15. This is also interesting. Supply made to tourists. In airports there are these shops, right? So those shops supply goods to tourists who are leaving India, what we call as the duty free shops. That will also be called as interstate sale, interstate supply. Then subject to provisions of 12, that is again POS, supply of services where the location of supplier and the place of supply are in same state or union territory, it shall be treated as intrastate supply. Exceptions are says units, vice versa, to or by says developer and units. Then the explanation talks about the distinct person, where a person has an establishment in India and any other establishment outside India. So if Farooq has one shop in India and one shop in Bahrain, they will be deemed to be held by different persons, distinct persons. Then establishment in a state or union territory and any other establishment outside that state or union territory. This everyone knows. And third is the business vertical, even in same state but a different business vertical. So they are considered as distinct persons. And explanation 2 is also simple, that a person carrying on business through a branch or agency or a representational office in any territory shall be treated as having an establishment in that territory. And then the analysis is given, again very simple, just go through it once. Then coming to section 9, supplies in territorial waters. This is interesting one. You know that 12 nautical miles, the sea extending up to 12 nautical miles is called as the territorial waters. So if supply takes place there, then what? So it says that notwithstanding anything contained in this act where the location of the supplier is in the territorial waters, the location of sub-supplier, or where the place of supply is in territorial waters, the place of supply shall for the purpose of this act be deemed to be in the coastal state or union territory where the nearest point of appropriate baseline is located. So where the location of supplier or the place of supply is in the territorial waters, then it will be deemed to be in that state where they are nearest to the shore, the landmass. Okay, so if suppose the supply, this is India, the coastal India you can say, and this is the 12 nautical miles. Of course here there will be Sri Lanka in between. Now this is say Gujarat, then this is Maharashtra, then this is Karnataka, and then Goa also will come in between somewhere, then Karnataka, and then Kerala. These are the states on this side, the western coast, and on the eastern side there will be Tamil Nadu, then there will be Andhra, then there will be Orissa, and there will be West Bengal. See, having the coastal borders. So if suppose the supply takes place here somewhere, this is the place of supply, then we have to see whether it is closest to the Goan landmass or Karnataka or Maharashtra, which is the closest point. So whichever is the closest state, the supply is deemed to have taken place in that state, because waters don't have any state. So waters will be considered as nearest water. Interesting point. Okay, so that part we have discussed in the first lecture, and in the second one we'll now see the zero rated supply. It's a little bit bigger discussion, so we'll take it in the next lecture. Zero rated supply.